This is gonna be funny. Oh no, that's not what I wanted.
Wait, how do you do that?
Oh, I was hoping I could make it my I took that like 2 seconds ago.
You just took a picture of yourself, a screenshot of yourself, and then made it your
Yeah,
background.
I was gonna turn my camera off so I could just have that just be there all the time. But now I guess I'm keeping this. Okay.
As your virtual background.
Yeah. Are we recording locally? We are recording locally, right?
I haven't started recording yet.
Okay, should we record locally?
You want to count us down?
Yeah, I'm ready. Wait, am I? Test. Yeah, I'm ready. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Welcome everyone to POV Crypto, the only podcast that both Bitcoiners and Ethereans listen to. I'm David Hoffman, here with my buddy Christian. Christian, how you doing?
I'm seeing double. Right now on the live stream, David has he took a screenshot of himself and then made it his background on Zoom. So there's just a big David behind a smaller David.
Now there are two of them.
God, Bitcoiner's worst nightmare.
Man, what's going on in the markets, man? What's the world up to? What is
Can't
next?
tell if I'm bullish or not.
Yeah, right. There seems to be like a bunch of different threads being pulled in a bunch of different directions, but the one direction that we are definitely going on is money printer go burr.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy to think that's come to this. That's for sure.
I mean, it's exactly what Bitcoiners said was going to happen. Like there was going to be like a small road bump. Or maybe a big road bump. But no matter the size of the road bump, the Fed was going to be extremely quick on the trigger to print a ton of cash.
What's insane to me is the fact that they've already done everything and the stock market is doing nothing. Like they've deployed their weapons. What do they have now? They've gone to zero QE and unlimited or zero interest rates and unlimited quantitative easing, and the markets are down today. And if you look at the chart, it's like this. So like, what are they going to do? What do they have? Like, what does the Fed have to fix the problem?
Yeah. So if there's no answer to equities, or if the Fed prints a bunch of money and equities just don't respond and the stock market just continues to drop, they're also printing money, which adds to inflation, which is going to devalue the return on the bond, but they're printing money to buy bonds at the same time. And so they're devaluing, or they're increasing the price of a bond, which keeps the bonds prices up. And they're also
old
increasing
bond prices.
Old
bond prices.
Right. It's like
old bonds become more valuable because new bonds, the baseline for new bonds is lower.
Yeah. I actually don't know where I was going with that, but it's like they're just
Ponzi.
Take me through the Ponzi scheme story. I need to be taken through that one more time.
So essentially, this is super simplified, but essentially what's happening is old bond has a 2% interest rate, so it's trading at this level. Future bond has a 0% interest rate, so all of a sudden this old bond is worth more because all of a sudden all the bonds that you can get on the market yield less than the older bond. So, if you zoom out, they've essentially been doing this since the 80s where, interest rates were like 8%. Let's say it was like a 20-year bond or whatever. So, I mean, granted that bond has expired, but you just keep doing this over and over and, fundraising and essentially pumping other assets that you have issued in the past by diminishing, your future bonds. And that's why they can go negative, right? Because the point of going negative is to pump the older bonds.
Right. Holy shit. Yeah. So, I mean, does the zero threshold have any actual consequence, or is that just an arbitrary level, or is going negative actually a meaningful thing, meaningfully different than like just a smidge positive?
Well, in Japan, there are negative interest rates across the board. And when negative interest rates really hit, that's when I think personal safes on Amazon started blowing up. Essentially,
Hmm.
no one wanted to keep their money in the bank. Right now, negative interest rates are happening kind of behind the scenes on the bank level. So
Mm-hmm.
consumers don't see it. We just see hyper low interest rates, but eventually it's coming to us. And then that's what that looks like is your bank account yields negative, as in you pay the bank to leave the money in there on top of whatever fees you are paying.
Right. Right.
The whole point of that is to incentivize you to use your money, right? They don't want you to
Right.
hold it; they want you to use it, quote unquote. So that way you remained hyper leveraged no matter what.
Right. Yeah. It's just crazy times, man, because we're in the crypto space. We're all trying to figure out like to what degree does the fact that the thesis that we think is going to happen play out actually result in the future that we thought it would. So like right now is the time for like, if crypto doesn't get adopted now, when Fed, the prince, basically says they're gonna have infinite QE and print $2 trillion, and signal that they're going to be ready to print any amount of money, right? Like that's basically what they've signaled, is that they are going to catch us no matter what. Like if that is a direct arrow pointing towards specifically Bitcoin for all of the intensive purposes of the rest of the world. Like that is what that is for. And so to the degree that like you're muted, so we can't hear you, to the degree that people actually give a fuck about the fact that the Fed is printing money should automatically be pointed towards the crypto world. And if we don't capture those people, those incoming people in the next 2, 3, 4 months, then like we probably failed as an industry.
I don't know, man. I think your timelines are skewed. I think that this money printer go burr meme is actually that's part of hyper Bitcoinization. That's part of people questioning what money is. That's part of people questioning the system. Like I don't think it's something like, ooh, this hot new product is available and it solves all your problems. It's one of those things like mental models need to change. People's asset allocation needs to change. People's stores of value needs to change. The way people see the world needs to change. Like this is going to be a process, and I do think it's going to go faster than we think. I don't think that saying like, "Hey, if we don't capture a massive majority of people in the next 6 months, we failed." I just disagree with that as well. I think
Well,
it's
not that
just a
we failed, but
process.
it is a failure. I mean, because
I mean, dude, the conversations are being had. The memes have been distilled. I don't think it's a failure quite yet. I think it's a failure if no one
I mean,
learns a
it's a
lesson
lost
from this at
opportunity, I
all.
guess is what I'm saying.
So, in an ideal world, what does this look like to you?
What does what look like?
How does crypto take advantage of this?
Oh, simply that I think the biggest example of victory would be that everyone, it's dinner table conversation that the Fed is printing money, and what does that mean? I mean, I guess that's the bridge to success. But everyone colloquially understanding that like that is the Bitcoiner narrative, or that is the crypto narrative. If everyone somehow gets funneled into that understanding, like, oh, that's what crypto's for, that's what that Bitcoin is, now I see it. How somebody, I guess everyone needs at least one person to like carry them over the edge, to be like, hey, remember that Bitcoin thing I was telling you about? Hey, remember how the Feds just printed $2 trillion? Like, do you get it now? I think just maybe right now, just people's synapses are a lot closer together, and so they're more likely to be triggered by that than in other times.
So, I mean, I think Permable Nino was talking about this when we interviewed him. He's saying like this is going to be the first crypto bull market that is led by Western users that are not just speculating, that actually need an opt out. And I actually think that that's true. I've been posting Bitcoin gets adopted in two ways: need or greed. So I think, at least the West has been really heavily indexed on the greed profile. But now for the first time, the American financial system seems to be in our face failing in a way that is so blatant that even plebes that are not like super into macro stuff, they get it. They see the failure.
And like, not even just, we don't even have the Fed, right? We also have this UBI conversation, which has dominated the political conversation in like the last 2 weeks. Like Mitt Romney, Bernie Sanders, Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, Tulsi Gabbard. These people have all talked about UBI recently, and now it's like somewhere in the range of every American is getting $1,000 check to every American is getting $2,000 a month from Bernie Sanders. Like, we're in that range right now, and the prophecy that all the non-UBI people are illustrating as it's just socialism, and the voters aren't going to vote, are always going to vote themselves to have more money. We're already seeing playing out, right? Like, we are like, that tug of war has started. And when do you stop? And if Donald Trump only gives people $1,000 and Bernie was offering them $2,000 a month, and then $1,000 didn't cut it, like,
it's not going to cut it.
It's not going to, $1,000 is not going to cut it. And it's not going to be enough. And they're going to be like, you could have done this the whole time. Like, this was an option. We could have just have been printed money. And it's game over.
What is money? It's just happening now. The conversation is really starting to happen. Dude, I mean, I've been saying we've been living in hyper Bitcoinization a while, and I know that like, don't take that too literally. I mean, hyper cryptoization, hyper questioning the system, hyper opting out, whatever you want to call it, hyper awareness of the issue. Like, it is happening, and it is happening really fast, and it's really crazy.
I think the way that we could pitch this future or this alternative to a lot of people that previously haven't caught the Bitcoin bug or the crypto bug or whatever is just illustrating how the printing of money is a privilege, and there's only one ethereal thing of printing money, right? Because money is liquidity begets liquidity. Money always converges upon the one money. So there's really only one money printer out there. You can't have two money printers because one dies. This is the idea about that money competes. And so the Federal Reserve has their hands around the big money printer of the world. And there's only one of these things. And whenever you turn on the money printer, it's like a money sucker from the other side of the world just to drop it into the pinnacle of the financial institution, which is in New York, which is the 1% of the world. And so it's just the way of perpetuating the cycle of always having this top-down financial system, this trickle-down financial system. And as soon as you cut off the power to the money printer, the trickle down economy of the world, that it does exist because that's how money flows. It is a trickle down system because of the money printer, because it trickles away from the money printer.
The Cantillon effect.
Yeah, the Cantillon effect, just to benefit the boomers, because the boomers are in charge of the Federal Reserve. It's the whole system. The whole system is to like protect the boomers. And the United States at the loss of everyone else. And like, I think even in I think if you told US people that, most people will be like, you're right, that's a bad system, even though I benefit. And I see why crypto will go up because of that bad thing. Finn.
So yeah, I mean, the bad thing that you're saying is the Cantillon effect. Those who are closer to money issuance benefit the most. But the reality is, and this is what I think is most mind-blowing and what Americans don't quite take into account quite yet, is while we get taken advantage of by the big corporations and the governments, the people that are closer to the money printer than we are ourselves much closer to the money printer than the rest of the world. And you can see fractals of this geographically, but we are really going to start seeing this when we start getting USD checks and everyone else is just getting fucked. And I think that that's going to really start to exacerbate things geographically and globally.
I watched this movie on recommendation of Tom Shot. I'm going to murder this last name. Um, Tom Shaughnessy.
Tom Shaughnessy is correct. He's also the
Oh,
man. Shout out to Tom. Love you, bro.
shout out to Tom. He said to watch The Platform on Netflix, and The Platform is just this movie, this dystopian sci-fi movie where there's this single column that's dug into the ground, and it's like a prison, and it's a ring, and there's this table that floats down through, and it has food on it, and it goes vertically down through this system, and there's two people on every floor, and everyone's eating from it. And the lower and lower you go, the lower on the food chain you are, and every month you get reorganized in this chain up and down. And so you want to be on the high levels because that's where all the food is. And so it's a conversation on, like, class structure, but it's based on this vertical system where all the nutrients starts at floor 1 and then moves down and gets gobbled up as it goes down to like floor 300. And I was just thinking the whole time, like, this is how the money system has worked. And so what happens when you stop that whole system and then you just have it spread equally? Well, then you have just much more global equality. I was going through these conversations in my head all throughout today. And I was like, wow, that's the Bitcoiner narrative. That's the whole deal.
So I'm kind of curious, like, with the whole money printer go burr meme really kind of going way beyond just the folks that normally pay attention to crypto and pay attention to macro. Like, what do you think this is going to do to the world? And then retrospectively, how are you seeing the Ethereum community, which typically is less interested in monetary policy, react to this meme, and as well as like how the US has reacted to the crisis?
Yeah. So at the same time, this whole tyranny of the Fed, like, is only going to get stronger, right? Because the dollarization is happening, like, significantly. Like, and
the dollar is crushing everything.
Dollar's crushing everything right now. And so, like, this is only going to make the dependence on the dollar, like, stronger. It's going to increase the strength of the grip of the Federal Reserve, increase their power.
Short term.
Why short term?
Like, there's there's obviously a massive dollar squeeze right now, which is bullish dollar, bearish everything else, but it's not like a good bullish dollar. It's not like yay, the dollar is killing it because of fundamentals. It's like, this system is fucked, and the dollar is kind of like the oil, and the oil is just running out of the machine. Like, well, it's a little bit different. And the fact that the system itself doesn't have, like, it's broken, and it doesn't work without, like, this crazy situation with the dollar and without constant maintenance. It's just not sustainable. So I just don't think it's like, oh, the dollar is becoming more dominant, period. Like, the dollar has a lot of issues with it. The dollar system has a lot of issues with it.
Yeah. I think just money on the internet is because there's only one jurisdiction on the internet, which is the internet. Then it's easier for money to compete, right? So that's why we don't use euros, and Europeans don't use euro stable coins. They use dollar stable coins. And so, like, you're talking about the global macro adoption of the dollar, which I agree could be more fleeting, but I bet on the internet, there's always going to, at least with internet money, there's always going to be only the dollar, probably, like, on a very strong distribution. Very bad distribution, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would argue that the dollar would have dominated a lot faster if it was not permissioned and it was fully internet based to begin with. But guess what? It's not. It's fully permissioned. And to get real dollars, you need to be in a permissioned account. And on top of that, they're printing the shit out of it.
I mean, real dollars, like cash?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, like, I'm saying, like, Parker brought this up. Like, unless stable coins are actually considered currency rather than like a synthetic or a IOU, then they're not actually dollars. They're useful. I'm not arguing that they're not useful.
What about USDC?
They're not USD. USDC is still not USD. You know what I'm saying? And at some point in the dollar system, you need to go back into USD.
Well, then don't we?
And that USD is getting printed to shit.
But then I don't have USD either because I don't have any cash. Like, are you talking about it's my money in my Wells Fargo account USD?
Yeah, it is.
Why is that
is
USD
a verified
and not USDC?
permissioned? That's a verified permissioned account. USDC is an abstraction layer above that. USDC is someone else's verified permission account that they tokenized.
Okay, I guess so.
It is like that's why it's token. Yeah. That's why it's asset backed. I mean, and I guess that's DAI is slightly different, but
okay.
All those fiat ones, essentially, it's a permissioned bank account that got tokenized. That's it. That's all it is.
Right. Okay. So you asked about
pissy at Tether because they have other practices around their bank.
I mean, Tether's model is the right model. Tether's just Libra, just way earlier. That's what Tether is. It's Libra before it got stripped
just
down.
A shitty Tether. Or rip off Tether.
Yeah.
Is Libra Facebook's way of pulling off what they did to Snapchat by just totally ripping off the story and plugging it onto Instagram?
Yeah, maybe.
Can they do it again?
That might be it. So you asked about Ethereum's.
How are Ethereans reacting to this whole money printer go burr?
Yeah. I think everyone is pretty bullish on the price of Ether because of money printer go burr. And to the degree that whoever said these statements believes it should be true because they think that Bitcoin's going to go up, or they think that if people are going to associate that with Ether, I don't know. Probably the Bitcoin one. I mean, we all think that it's bullish for crypto, but other than just thinking it's bullish, I would say it's a subdued response by the Ethereum community.
What is like the opinion about, like, is there an opinion that all of this stimulus is unnecessary? Is there an opinion that the Fed is corrupt? Is there an opinion that it's necessary? Like, is there even a consensus kind of amongst the community?
There's no consensus. Okay. It's just not a convert. It's not an interest of topic of interest with the Ethereum crowd.
Are there any themes?
And with regards to monetary policy, like, are you talking about Fed monetary policy?
Sure. Actually, I take it back. What is the topics that are interesting in the Ethereum community right now, despite all this crazy shit happening kind of on a monetary policy scale?
Regarding Corona or just in general?
Yeah, what's happening? What's trending in
what's up with Ethereum?
Yeah, what's up with ETH despite all this crazy shit? Like, what the fuck are they else talking about? Like, what else are they talking about? Like, how are they not talking about this?
I mean, we are talking about that. Everyone's talking about Corona. Everyone's talking about this. I think the Ethereum attitude towards money printer go burr is just one of just viewing it from a bird's eye view, just viewing it from afar, seeing like, oh, look at that's happening over there. Everyone talks about it because it's, relevant to crypto, but it's just like not a fascination, I would say. So it's like the Fed is, and this is my opinion too, like the Fed is just going to do whatever they're going to do. And like, I want them to print a bunch of money because that is helpful to me right now. But also I would be amused to see the whole thing crash and burn also at the same time. Like, it could go either way. I'd be like, fuck it. I'm on for the ride. And I feel like that's the attitude of most Ethereans.
Oh man, I think some Bitcoiners have that kind of attitude, but I don't know. Personally, I'm scared. I think things are going to get gnarly, and I don't think that short-term price is going to necessarily benefit. It could. I think Bitcoin has really strong fundamentals at these levels. I think it looks really good compared to the existing system, but I just see this like essentially economic shutdown. Like, I think the coronavirus is huge, but I actually think the economic shutdown associated with preventing or stopping or attempting to slow down the coronavirus, that is what is actually kind of like setting off the ticking time bomb that was this hyper leveraged system that we like. Essentially everyone was super leveraged up, and we are all coming down off the leverage right now, and it's fully systemic. And I just think that the longer that gets drawn out, it's going to force people who did not want to sell their crypto to sell it. And it's not because they're not bullish. It's because they must go up the liquidity stack. They need to get to something that is going to help them pay their bills, help them get resources that they need. It's just going to be, they're going to require it. And they will sell whatever they can to get there. And many of them will sell crypto, and it's going to happen all at once. Like, all these people are going to have these desperate decisions to make at the same time, and we're going to see it in the price. I have no doubt about it. Like, I could very well be wrong, but what I'm painting is equally likely, if not more likely, than the other way around, which is that everyone realizes that, holy shit, we should have been Bitcoin the whole time, and then moon past the halving.
It's a function of how bad coronavirus actually is, right? And if that reality plays out, then we're talking about further very high correlation with the traditional markets, right? Like, it's going to be a global systemic collapse of everything, right? Go ahead. Did you want to say something?
I was just going to say, like, the reality is this is about liquidity, and Bitcoin and Ether and DAI and USDC are not going to become hyper liquid all at once. It's going to take a really long time. Liquidity is it's like the train chugging up the mountain. You got to fucking build that shit over time. And then when it's there in times of need, it pays off. Just look at Tether's rebound or Tether's massive spike compared to all the other stable coins. All the stable coins on ETH shot up. But Tether, like, what, 2-3x more than all the rest of them combined? Like, that's what liquidity looks like when it's in times of need. And that's why we're seeing the USD crush all other fiats. And I think that Bitcoin could be in that position, but we don't know. It's not in that position today. That's for sure. And right now, when people need it, they need to go into USD or they need to go into their local fiat.
Yeah, it's just a matter of how much actual demand will there be for more cash. Like, what do we need more cash for? And, like, the only thing I can really think of is that, like, people, like, this coronavirus thing just goes on way longer than people thought it would. But I don't. Another huge leg down in the markets, I think, is going to take 2 to 4 more weeks at least to happen as people run out of the cash that they that they got in this first big sell-off. Like, we have to burn through that sell-off's cash first.
I don't know. Like, I think that this could have a heartbeat of every month when rent is due. Like, that is the level that this is at, where there's so many people that their entire lives have been completely disrupted. And they are so leveraged. When I say they're leveraged, I mean, like, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, I consider that leverage. Like, you have nothing. Like, it's soon, like, the next day, like, the next month, you're starting over. And if you cannot make that up again, you're done. Your margin called. So I just don't see leverage being relieved at all. And I think that people are just going to continue to get margin called all the way down, and it's going to be compounding.
Yeah.
Like, this is the margin call of all fucking margin calls happening right now.
So I saw a graph of the recent market, pullback, crash, whatever, overlaid the Great Depression. And the Great Depression did what we have done so far, where it shot down really fast at the very genesis, at the very start, shot down really fast, and then went up for a little bit more time, and then it just tumbled down a hill for the next, like, 2 years. Like, it kind of did it. And then I looked at the chart and I kind of broke it out into different chunks, and at every single point it would be like, yeah, I would probably think that was the bottom. And then it kept on rolling out for 2 more years. And just for 2 years, it looks like a plausible bottom after plausible bottom. And it just never bottoms out until, 2 years later. And that's just going to be a function of, how many people are paying rent in this economy. Like, how many people are without their rental income. And until we can get everyone who is unable to pay rental income to be paying rental income, that's not going to happen.
I mean, I think it's more. I think you're underestimating how leveraged this is. This is about landlords that should own 3 houses and they own a condo, like a condominium, right? Like they're in a situation where if 30 to 40% of their tenants are not paying them or can't pay them, holy shit, they're building. They can't pay their mortgage anymore. Like this is not about tenants. This is about tenants and landlords and community banks and local credit unions and the Federal Reserve. Like we're going all the way up the motherfucking stack. Yeah, that's what's happening all the way up. Like this is systemic all the way through, and maybe they can print their way out of it, but I mean, like you can't fake the entire market activity. Like you can't be like, okay, everyone's inside, but guess what? We're going to keep all prices the same. We're going to keep all rent coming in at these prices. We're going to keep all equity prices the same by just printing away. Like that's not going to happen. Look at Venezuela.
Right. What's the point of printing money when like everyone can't go to work anyways? Like even if we did get
the existing inflated prices that we're all committed to, that's pretty much it.
It's specifically to maintain asset prices?
Or the rent that you agreed to.
Yeah.
Like like that rent price got built up over 30 years of, wages increasing, fiat value slightly decreasing, housing prices increasing over time. Like we are being leverage called for years right now. And it's because despite us wanting to work, despite people being able to work, we can't work.
Right. Man, like if people aren't paying their rent for like over 6 months, like I feel like that just is absolute doomsday in this scenario that you are.
Like what the fuck? That's what I'm saying. Like I don't think that in the short to medium term, crypto is beyond this. I really don't think so. Because it's just about people needing to go up the liquidity stack.
Yeah, for an extended period of time. Yeah, you're right on the nose with the whole heartbeat every month thing. Like every month that this is drawn out, it just gets worse.
Especially if the stimulus doesn't come, right? And then we have like, oh, are we gonna add in Green Deal stuff? Are we gonna add in corporate financing? Like freaking Washington D.C. back to their normal shit.
The stimulus, the 2001 stimulus from Bernie is probably like landowners, ironically landowners' best friend, because like people that own leases, people like landlords, those are the people that need Bernie to issue that $2,000 a month the most. Like that is their money, right? Like that's going straight to the landlord to pay that off. Which is kind of scary. Landlord, being a property owner or landlord is like a weird position in the world.
Yo, so you got to check. I know you're into futures markets. You need to check out. What's it called? Trump, the FTX presidential elections. So what I'm finding incredibly interesting is in my head, Bernie is like the dark horse right now. But right now on FTX, Bernie is just getting absolutely crushed.
He's getting crushed?
He's getting crushed. Like the futures are pretty much saying Trump or Biden. Fuck. That's it. And they have them both, and they have them pegged at almost even. Like Trump has gone down significantly since coronavirus. Trump at one point was pegged at close to 60% and at his top. And now he's at 57 or 47. It's saying Trump and Biden are about tied, and then Bernie is not even close, according to FTX.
I see Bernie at 0.006. Is that what you see, Matt?
Yeah. So essentially, what happens is if they win, each share levels out to $1.
Right. Yeah.
So Trump shares are 47 cents. Bernie shares are 46 cents. Biden shares are 46 cents. Bernie shares are less than 1 cent.
Oh yeah, wow, that's a really liquid market. Holy shit.
I mean, it's pretty illiquid still.
Oh, poor Bernie. In comparison to Predict It, which is what I'm used to. Poor Bernie.
I mean, FTX is like Binance, so it's centralized.
Is it? Right.
Yeah.
It's predicted
But, I mean,
centralized too.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I think FTX's futures markets are probably the best right now in terms of this.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're only doing futures markets on the election though, but it's
Right.
really fucking interesting.
It is. Yeah, that super is. Man, Biden is just chugging along there. I would sell puts at Biden at 46%. Holy shit, that guy's not going to have that much of a chance against Donald Trump.
I don't know what the hell. Like, I don't see the Biden hype. I don't see it. Like,
No,
honestly, I would probably buy the shit out of Bernie right now at under a cent.
No, I think he's lost. He's lost, unfortunately.
You think he's done?
He's done. Yeah, he's done.
I mean, that's what these markets are saying. These markets are saying he's done, but all the volume is on Trump, to be honest. If you look at it, Trump's volume is 6 times more. But that's gone down a lot, and he looks bad. I'm not a
Trump?
Democrat. Yeah, every time he talks, I'm like, why are you talking, bro? I don't get it's
well, Biden might have coronavirus, so he might just, get this for free.
Jeez.
I don't know if that's true or not.
It sounds like it's possible.
We haven't seen him in a while.
Someone brought the observation up, was like, why aren't any politicians wearing masks? Maybe they don't want to incite fear. That's strictly it.
So dumb.
It's for optics.
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
I was watching a press conference of the Chinese president, and him, and then all the military behind him were just all masks.
Oh Jesus!
They're like giving like a Hitler like speech, like we will dominate the virus.
Yeah, Donald Trump said we were going to go to war against the virus, and I'm like, okay, I guess if that's the attitude you want, I'm for it.
Dude, status, man. The state loves war.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. All right. Thanks everyone for listening. You can follow the pod at POV Crypto Pod. You can give us 5-star reviews on iTunes. Thank you if you've listened to this episode all this way. And yeah, those 5-star reviews are really valuable to us because we want to show up earlier than ICO 101 that hasn't released an episode in over 8 months. We should be higher than them. So please help us out with that. You can follow me at Trustless State, both on Medium and at Bankless.
You can find me at CK_snarks, and my short term in shadow ban jail is over. Quick tip, if you're ever shadow banned, you can check using a website called shadowban.eu. And if you are shadow banned, just sign out of your Twitter for 24 hours, take a little break, and it all comes back. But every day you don't, and you keep liking and tweeting stuff, the ban will continue. So there you go. It's not that bad. But yeah, please rate and review the show. 10K Bitcoin awaits 100 reviews on POV Crypto. So I think we're about 8 reviews away. That's not that hard, guys. Get those reviews in. Get us to 10K Bitcoin. Peace.
Wow, was that only a 37-minute episode?
It was. We also didn't do ads for that episode.
Yeah. How do you feel about that episode? It's kind of meh. I don't feel strongly about it.
All right. Well, I'm good. Stop.
All right.